In a quiet suburban neighborhood, nestled between tall oak trees and cozy houses, there lived a delivery boy. He was a young lad known for his punctuality and friendly demeanor. He worked for a local restaurant, delivering delicious food to hungry customers in the area. One chilly evening, as the sun began to set and the streetlights flickered to life, the delivery boy received an order for a sumptuous meal. It was a house he had delivered to before, and the customer had always been pleasant, leaving generous tips. He hopped on his bicycle, the delivery bag securely fastened to the back, and pedaled away into the dimly lit streets. The route to the customer's house took him through a quiet, tree-lined road. It was a path he knew well, but tonight, an eerie silence hung in the air, making him feel uneasy. He pushed on, dismissing his fears as mere imagination. After all, he had delivered countless meals along this very route. As he rode deeper into the neighborhood, the streetlights grew farther apart, and the darkness seemed to engulf him. The delivery boy's heart raced, and a cold sweat formed on his forehead. He couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was watching him from the shadows. Just when he thought he was being paranoid, he heard it, a soft rustling in the bushes. The delivery boy slammed on the brakes, his eyes darting around, trying to make out what had caused the noise. The rustling grew louder and more menacing, like footsteps approaching him. His heart pounded, and his hands trembled as he fumbled for his phone to call for help. Before he could dial a number, a figure emerged from the bushes, shrouded in darkness. The delivery boy's breath caught in his throat as he saw a tall, shadowy figure approaching him. It was impossible to make out any features, but he could sense malevolence emanating from it. Frozen in fear, the delivery boy couldn't move or shout for help. The figure drew closer, and then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, it vanished back into the night, leaving the delivery boy trembling with fear. He was now certain that something supernatural was at play. Summoning all his courage, the delivery boy decided to continue his journey. He pedaled faster, his heart still pounding, until he reached the customer's house. He rang the doorbell and waited anxiously, eager to escape the ominous presence that had haunted him. Inside, the customer, unaware of the delivery boy's terrifying ordeal, answered the door with a warm smile and took the food. The delivery boy tried to act normal, but he couldn't help glancing over his shoulder, fearing that the dark figure might return. After he left the customer's house, the delivery boy pedaled back through the same eerie route. This time, the rustling in the bushes and the feeling of being watched intensified. It was as if the shadowy figure had decided to accompany him on his way back. Finally, the delivery boy reached the more well-lit part of the neighborhood, and the feeling of dread began to subside. He made it back to the restaurant, where he recounted his harrowing experience to his co-workers. They were all shocked and couldn't explain what had happened. News of the delivery boy's encounter with the mysterious figure spread throughout the neighborhood like wildfire. People started talking about strange happenings in the area, sharing their own eerie experiences. Some claimed to have seen the shadowy figure, while others heard unexplained noises in the dead of night. Soon, the local news caught wind of the story, and reporters began interviewing residents about the mysterious occurrences. The entire neighborhood was abuzz with talk of the unexplained, and theories ranged from ghostly apparitions to supernatural phenomena. Though the delivery boy never encountered the shadowy figure again, the incident haunted him for weeks. He continued making deliveries, but he always kept a wary eye on the shadows. The neighborhood remained a hotbed of spooky stories and eerie sightings, a place where the line between the real and the supernatural blurred, leaving everyone in suspense, wondering what other mysteries the darkness might hold. Over time, a sense of curiosity and fascination drew even more visitors to the neighborhood. Ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts arrived, setting up cameras and recording devices, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. Some even claimed to have seen orbs of light and heard disembodied voices in their recordings. A local historian, Dr. Carter, delved into the history of the neighborhood to find any clues about the mysterious occurrences. He discovered that the land the neighborhood was built on had once been a burial ground for indigenous people, and it had a long history of unexplained phenomena. Could this history be connected to the recent events? As the weeks turned into months, the neighborhood's sense of unease deepened. Children began avoiding certain streets, and adults spoke in hushed tones about the haunted areas. Tim, who had experienced the initial encounter with the shadowy figure, found himself drawn into the web of paranormal intrigue. He began researching local legends and ghost stories, hoping to uncover the truth. One rainy evening, Tim met an elderly woman who had lived in the neighborhood for decades. She claimed to have known about the mysterious occurrences long before they made headlines. The woman explained that, as a child, she had heard stories from her grandmother about a guardian spirit that had watched over the land for generations. According to her grandmother, the guardian spirit was said to be a protector of the land, ensuring that it remained undisturbed. However, it could also become vengeful if it felt threatened or disrespected. The woman believed that the recent developments in the neighborhood might have angered this spirit. Tim was intrigued by the woman's story and decided to investigate further. He gathered a group of curious residents and set out to learn more about the guardian spirit. Armed with cameras, they ventured into the woods that bordered the neighborhood, searching for any signs of the supernatural. As they explored deeper into the woods, they stumbled upon an ancient, overgrown cemetery, hidden from view for years. The tombstones were weathered, and the names and dates on them were nearly illegible. It was clear that this cemetery had been forgotten by time. In the midst of the cemetery, Tim and his group discovered a massive, gnarled oak tree. Etched into the tree's bark were symbols that closely resembled the ones seen on porches and heard whispered in the night. Tim couldn't help but feel that they were onto something significant. Just as they were about to leave the eerie place, the wind picked up, and the leaves rustled in a strange, rhythmic pattern. It sounded almost like a mournful chant. Tim and the others exchanged nervous glances, realizing that they were not alone. Out of the shadows emerged the same tall, shadowy figure that Tim had encountered on that fateful night. It stood before them, its form shifting and morphing, as if it were a specter from another world. Tim, trembling but determined, stepped forward and spoke softly, "We mean no harm. We seek to understand and honor the guardian spirit of this land." The figure seemed to consider their words, and then, with a final, haunting glance, it dissipated into the night, leaving the group in awe and wonder. From that day on, the eerie occurrences in the neighborhood gradually subsided. It was as if the guardian spirit, having been acknowledged and respected, had returned to its peaceful slumber. The neighborhood's reputation as a paranormal hotspot faded, but the stories of the guardian spirit and the mysterious events that had unfolded continued to be passed down through generations. Tim, forever changed by his encounter with the supernatural, found solace in knowing that some mysteries were better left unsolved, and that the land they lived on held secrets that would always remain a part of their shared history.